Good morning. This is Chair French, and I am convening this regularly scheduled business meeting of the Kansas Corporation Commission for Tuesday, December 21st. I'm joined by my colleagues, Commissioner Duffy and Commissioner Keene. Good morning, Commissioners. On today's agenda, we have 12 consent agenda items, one noticed item, and we will have one discussion item with potential action on that item. We will begin first with our consent agenda. Commissioners, you've had the opportunity to review the 12 items on that agenda. Let me ask at this time whether you have any questions about those items, beginning with Commissioner Keene.
None for me, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Duffy.
Good morning, Chair French. None for me. And with that, I move approval of the consent agenda.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. We will now move to our noticed items. Our first noticed item is in docket number 22 TRAM 247 PEN. And this is a proposed penalty order in that docket. Our presenter for the item is Mr. Hassan Latif. Good morning, Hassan.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. The penalty order before you arises out of a compliance review of Mass Trucking Incorporated, a common carrier which hauls general freight, building materials, grain, feed, hay, blood, and plasma, and operates out of Copeland, Kansas. This investigation was conducted from November 15th through December 8th by Special Investigators Penny Fryback and Erica Pargas, and was a follow-up review to a review done in early 2020. During their recent investigation, the special investigators found several violations, and the order before you assesses penalties for 4 of those violations, resulting in $6,500 in total penalties. The violations included a fine for allowing a driver to operate a commercial motor vehicle prior to completing their follow-up testing that was required by a substance abuse professional. As you know, the Commission issues penalty orders pursuant to the Uniform Penalty Assessment Matrix, which is approved annually by the Commission. And the fiscal year 2022 penalty matrix specifies a penalty for a scenario where a carrier uses a driver prior to having a pre-employment drug test, but does not include a penalty for this scenario where a driver was required to complete a rehabilitation process with a DOT certified substance abuse professional before returning to duty, but the carrier permitted the driver to return to duty prior to the completion of that program. And that is because we don't usually see situations like this. In the most recent penalty matrix that was approved on June 29th, 2021, the order approving that matrix said, staff shall use the fiscal year 2022 uniform penalty matrix in recommending penalties for violations, except for when staff believes a deviation is merited. And if staff believes such a deviation is merited, staff shall present the uniform penalty assessment table recommendation and any alternative recommendation to the Commission for consideration. So in this case, staff recommends the Commission diverge from the penalty matrix to allow a penalty to be issued for the carrier's failure to require its employee to complete his rehabilitation program prior to driving for the company. The recommended fine is $1,000, which is the same amount that the penalty would be for this size carrier if they had not conducted a pre-employment test for that driver. The penalty order also includes a fine for requiring or permitting drivers to falsify records of duty status. The investigators found 16 violations of this type. This same penalty was included in a penalty order issued to the carrier in March of 2020. Given the fact the carrier was previously penalized for the same penalty, staff requests the penalty be increased from $3,000, which is the penalty for a first-time violation, to $5,000, which is the maximum penalty allowed under the statute. The penalty order also includes a $250 fine for requiring or permitting a driver to operate over the 14th hour in a 24-hour period, and a $250 violation for failure to produce an inspector's qualifications for an annual inspection of the carrier's vehicles. The staff recommends approval of the order before you, which includes the enhanced fines, and I and staff are available to take any questions you have.
Thank you, Mr. Latif, for that description. Let me ask at this time whether there are any questions from the commissioners, beginning with Commissioner Keene.
No questions, thank you. I do have a comment. Once again, I intend to support in the approval of this order with the enhanced fines from the staff's recommendation. Once again, I would just simply commend our staff for their diligence and for their for how conscientious they've been in, excuse me, in following up on these violations. The violations are serious. I think the enhanced fines are merited. I commend the staff for recommending them, and as I say, I intend to support it. My tip of the hat to all of the field personnel and other personnel within the Department of within the Transportation Division for all of their activities incidental to this particular order.
Thank you, Commissioner Keen. Commissioner Duffy, any questions or comments?
I concur with the comments of Commissioner Keen. As this is a follow-up to the operator, it's so disappointing to see the level of violations again with this operator. And there were kind of some violations that we normally don't see, like not following up on the retest, which is to me significant. And there's got to be a background story there, I'm sure. I did not understand that the inspector qualifications are, again, under our purview as an agency. And Mr. Haney, I do believe you explained that we have an obligation to ensure that folks inspecting an operator's vehicle have qualifications. Is that correct?
That is correct, Commissioner Duffy. They have to self-certify. The forms are available on our website. They have to be knowledgeable of Appendix G, which basically makes up the components of a commercial vehicle. And then any time that we do a review on a company that does self-certify their annual inspections, we do have the mechanic do an inspection so that we can verify competency with the requirements, the rules.
Thank you. I believe that's the first time I've seen that since I've been back to the commission. Again, staff is doing so much heavy lifting in this neck of the woods. And I appreciate the support that the Topeka office and Gary and Mike are providing the staff out there, as well as you, Hassan, in putting these orders together. With that, Mr. Chairman, I move approval of the order.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the described order in this docket. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, those in favor, please vote aye.
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 Aye, the order is approved. Thank you, Mr. Latif.
Thank you.
We will now move on to our last noticed item. This is a discussion item related to Federal Energy Regulatory Commission matter docket number EL 22-20. And our presenter for this item is Ms. Carly Massentine. Good morning, Carly.
Good morning, commissioners. In the docket before you today, Kansas Electric Power Cooperative and Evergy Kansas Central, otherwise known as KEPCO and Evergy Kansas Central, or Evergy, are parties to a cost-based formula rate agreement for full requirements electric service, which FERC approved in docket number ER 07-1344. On December 10th, 2021, KEPCO submitted a formal challenge and complaint to FERC regarding Evergy Kansas Central's 2021 annual update for the contract year beginning June 2021 and ending in May of 2022. KEPCO previously challenged Evergy's implementation of the cost-based agreement in docket numbers EL 19-17 and EL 21-18. The principal issue in KEPCO's challenge is whether Evergy has properly calculated its cost of service, variable operations, and maintenance revenue requirement in the energy rate for the current contract year, in accordance with the formula rate agreement and its generation formula rate and protocols. KEPCO argues that the proposed variable operations and maintenance revenue requirement of $64.81 million appears to be excessive as compared to the current level of $46.75 million. KEPCO also argues that the proposed increase is unexpected given Evergy Central's commitments to Elliott Associates and merger-related savings. According to KEPCO, the variable operations and maintenance revenue requirement should be $37.68 million. KEPCO has also requested FERC issue an order reaffirming Evergy's obligation to comply with the informal resolution timelines in its protocols. Motions to intervene as well as comments are due Thursday, December 31st, 2021. Consistent with the Commission's practice in docket numbers EL 19-17 and EL 21-18, Commission staff recommends intervening in this docket. Filing a dockless notice of intervention ensures this commission remains informed of the docket's developments and further preserves this commission's ability to protect the interest of Kansas ratepayers. Staff recommends the commission authorize our DC counsel to file a dockless notice of intervention in FERC docket number EL 22-20. And with that, I am available for questions.
Thank you, Ms. Massentine. Any questions on this item, beginning with Commissioner Keen?
No questions, thank you.
And Commissioner Duffy, any questions?
Yes, Carly, what is the time frame for this proposed action that the company is seeking?
Motions to,
No.
oh, as far as the timeline for the dispute itself, I am unsure, but I can talk with our DC counsel and get that information to you.
Yeah, I don't know whether this is a 6-month thing or a year long or whatever. I think that would be helpful to understand that. With that, Chair French, I move approval, or I recommend. Well, why don't I let you do that?
Sure, I'll do the motion. I had one quick comment. I think it's important to intervene in dockets like this. I think this is particularly interesting because KEPCO pays the generation formula rate, and any amount recovered from KEPCO is basically a credit to Evergy's retail customers, and any amounts not recovered from KEPCO would be extra amounts that the retail customers would have to pay. And so our interest in this docket is interesting. We are not there, in my opinion, we're not there to protect Evergy's retail customers. We're not there to protect KEPCO because after all, the vast majority of everyone affected by these rates, they're all Kansas ratepayers, whether they are KCC retail jurisdictional ratepayers or whether they're ratepayers of co-ops. I think, as Carly said, we're there to protect the interests of all Kansas ratepayers. And so our interest here is in making sure that these rates are calculated correctly and that all Kansas ratepayers are treated fairly. So with that, I will go ahead and move the commission authorize our DC counsel to file a dockless notice of intervention in FERC docket number EL 22-20 and to take such action therein as necessary to protect the interests of Kansas ratepayers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to take the described action in this FERC docket. Is there any further discussion on that motion? Hearing none, those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All right.
Aye. The order, the action is approved. Thank you, Ms. Massentine. With that, we have come to the conclusion of the items on today's business meeting agenda. If there is no further business to come before us this morning, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Commissioner Duffy?
Well, here we are in our separate little silos on the screen again. And I do want to take this opportunity to wish both you, Chair French, and Commissioner Keen a very Merry Christmas. And hopefully next year we won't be so screeny. So with that, I do move approval to adjourn.
I'm going to second this, but not until I've had a chance to double down on Commissioner Duffy's remarks as well. For me, a Merry Christmas to my two colleagues, our entire staff, and all of those who have the indulgence to tune in and listen to our business meetings in this format.
Can we just give a big shout out to our executive director, Lynn Ratz? As I look at the balance of this year, she has led this agency with a fierce determination to protect our interests as an agency serving the public, but more importantly, to protect our health as individuals and talk about moving heaven and earth to get it done. She has. And thank you, Lynn, for all your efforts on behalf of staff near and far. It has been exemplary, and you should know, I believe you have done the best job we could have, what we needed at the time, every time.
I
Well,
would second those kudos and second the motion. Pardon me, Chair French.
before we take up that vote, let me just echo everything you all have said. I mean, I think Lynn has done a fantastic job, but really every staff member of the KCC has done an amazing job. I think we've used the word unprecedented a lot to talk about our challenges over the last year or two, but I will use it to describe the resilience of all of our employees in figuring out how to do their jobs and to protect Kansans over the last year. I just have been continually impressed. And to your point of hoping things can change in the future, I'm in the process of, I just set up to get my PCR test so I can go visit my 97-year-old grandmother for Christmas, but I'm hoping that's a challenge that will be something of the past soon. And that in the future, we'll be able to be together in more normal circumstances. So
Here.
here's to that. Well, with that, I will take up your motion to adjourn. If there is no further discussion on that, all those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All right,
Aye. We are adjourned. Take care, everyone.
thank you.
Thank you.